Hey, whoa, it's my 100th video on this channel. So I just want to say big ups to everybody who's ever watched one of my videos. I really appreciate it and it means the world to me. Thank you so much. I don't have anything special planned for this video, but I did want to acknowledge it because it's a pretty cool milestone, at least I think. So again, big ups. And just a disclaimer, I recorded this in 2 separate sessions, so I might sound a little different throughout the video. And by different, I mean on the first half, I honestly sound really tired. I don't think that sounding tired inhibited my way to communicate my thoughts clearly in any way, but I know some of you guys tell me when I sound tired or I sound sick, so this is just a heads up, I will probably sound tired to you, but again, only on the first half.
I have 2 topics to talk about right now, and this applies to all of my content. This is just not applying to DSP Throwback. This applies to everything moving forward. First of all, you may or may not have noticed, but already this year, there has been a significant change to my thumbnails. I'm going to show you what I mean right now. Are you ready? So what you see over here is a thumbnail comparison, okay, of what my thumbnails look like on my videos right now when they go live on DSP Gaming.
I just want to say that I find a lot of the things that DSP does confusing, and I think that most normal, rational human-style beings feel the same way. And one of those things, especially this year so far, that I find confusing is DSP hyping up these minor changes that he's been doing to the channel. And I guess that I use the word minor very loosely because I am also referring to the entire rebrand of KO Gaming. Because while that might seem like a major change because he did rebrand an entire channel, I still don't think that it's going to make a major difference in his actual content, because it's very clearly just a lazy attempt to get more money off of playthroughs that he's already done. A double dip, if you will. But I'm also referring to all of the small changes that he made on that channel as well, as he was trying to dial in the content, so to speak. Talking how he's going to do new thumbnails for the channel and all of the playthroughs that he's going to do there. Talking about how good his schedule is going to be over there and all of the playthroughs that he's got lined up in his brain that he can do at the same time to keep it fresh. How he took everybody's feedback and he's gonna try the 30 FPS instead of the 60 FPS due to the ghosting looking abysmal. And now we're gonna be looking at minor changes on the actual main channel. I don't know, there's just something weird to me about pointing out these minor changes and taking feedback on every single thing. DSP, it's your channel. Do what you want on your channel. Make the content that you want to make. You don't need your audience's approval to title your videos and make thumbnails. I just couldn't imagine polling my audience every single time I wanted to make a video to make sure that I pick the title that they most prefer. But leave it to DSP to never accept important feedback that would actually make him better as a person, and only accept feedback that doesn't matter at the end of the day and is completely superfluous. Because all of my visual style watchers can see on screen right now how minute the differences actually are between those thumbnails. I mean, one of them is literally just whether the title or the number goes on the top or bottom. Who gives a shit, dude? Just move on. Just put it out. Nobody is gonna not click on the video simply because the number was on top instead of the title. It just seems like a waste of the audience's time, which I know DSP loves to do, but I find completely disrespectful. It's bad enough that he already doesn't make his own thumbnails and has another dent do it for him, but to waste his audience's time asking about improving the thumbnails in such a minor way, it just adds insult to injury, really. And I'm gonna speed this next section up just because he's gonna be walking you through the 3 individual styles on screen right now and explaining them to you in depth.
Exhibit A, as labeled with the letter A, appropriately, is what my thumbnails used to look like. Usually it would have half of the thumbnail covered with, say, an image from the game, and then it would have the logo of the game, and then it would have a number. However, they were very uniform, and what I mean by that is that image of the game would remain the same image on every thumbnail. It would never even change, it would just stay the same image. So a lot of the times, that would actually be like the logo of the game or the box art of the game. That's what you would see on the thumbnail. So that was thumbnail A. Okay, thumbnail B is what we're currently doing in the new year, whether or not you noticed it. Okay, so thumbnail B, what happens is you still get a number, you still get the logo, but that's superimposed over a frame grab from the actual video. So it's video specific. So for example, if there's a big boss fight in the video, I'll probably take a frame grab of that boss fight, and that's what that would be. If there's a notable character who's introduced, if there's something important happening, that's what you'll see in the art there. Okay, so that's what we're using right now is style B. Okay, now what you see here with style C is kind of a hybrid of the two, and what style C would be is very similar to what A was, but instead of using a static image that never changes, it would be a changeable image for each thumbnail. So half of the thumbnail would be the logo and the number, the other half would be a picture that would change per video, okay? So really what you have are 3 options, okay? The old style, which is very uniform and will look the same on every single video, the only difference is really the number. the new style, where you're going to have it change every single video, but you don't really have that uniformity. You don't really have like order to it. It could be like a number or the logo kind of anywhere on it. And then we have style C, where you'd have half of the thumbnail is the uniform number and logo, and half is an image that changes per video. Okay?
So the actual takeaway from that is that it doesn't matter and nobody cares. Wow. No, but the reality is that I actually misrepresented his thumbnail selection here. I'm gonna blame that on the fact that I don't think that he properly gave us examples, because he used the same image for all three of them, when the reality is that A and C would not actually have the same image. Only B and C would, and instead A would have a static image that is always the same and not that weird blue thing that it is now. But of course DSP couldn't be bothered to go get a good example to show his audience so that they actually understand what he's talking about. He'd much rather just over-explain it verbally so that anybody who isn't paying the utmost attention to all of the words specifically is just going to be confused. I mean, why did you even go out of your way to provide these three examples if you're not going to represent the options available correctly? That would be totally okay if it was a physical thing that you actually couldn't get your hands on in time to show the people properly, but dude, it's literally thumbnails that you have some dent make. There's no shortage of supplies. They could actually just go get a representational picture and put it on the thumbnail properly. I know it might seem like I'm harping on this, but like I say, sometimes it's just the small things like this that really irk me about DSP. Going out of his way to pull his audience on what kind of thumbnails they like, but can't provide an accurate example. I mean, come on, dude. What's even the point anymore?
I can tell you right now, from what people are saying in the chat, people are saying that B is the best. Like, everyone is typing B, B, B in the chat right now live, okay? So, if that's the case, and you guys like style B, that's good news, because that's what we're already using, all right? I just haven't talked about it. Like, I literally didn't mention it at all this year that we had changed the thumbnails. So, if you would like to see a certain thumbnail type, please let me know. Respond with a comment on this video on demand. I will weigh and balance your opinions. But it seems like, in general, people are liking B on the chat right now. A few are saying C, but most are actually saying B. Okay, and G-Turnal says ban anyone who says A. So it looks like 672 said A. So let me go right ahead, and I'm going to click right on 672's name. And he is permanently banned. All right, and he's never coming back. Very nice. Good job.
LOL, Gwet fuck 672. But yeah, if you thought that I was joking that he was literally polling his audience about what kind of thumbnail that they prefer, I wasn't. It was for real. But I have to point out that it's not even a real poll. He didn't actually post a poll in his chat. He just asked people to type A, B, or C. And then also told people to leave comments on the video that I'm super sure he's gonna check, dude, of course. Just the most complicated and robust process possible for something that didn't even really need to be addressed. DSP, again, it's your own channel. Just pick a thumbnail style that you like and want to be on your channel and go with it. It's not like any of these thumbnails are necessarily creative or original in the first place. Unlike all of my super meaningful curated style thumbnails that I design entirely by myself. I'm just playing around. I do make them all myself, but I don't think they're all that great. I just think they're funny. And that's what we do around here, isn't it? We try and have fun. We try and laugh at the guy. But speaking of laughing at the guy, DSP needlessly dunking on 672 probably would have been a good community inside joke if he hadn't actually gotten upset with 672 previously and banned him for speaking out. Well, I say banned, but it was actually a timeout. But you all remember that, I'm sure. It was a whole thing in the Snortex for a second.
In addition to all of that, you know what, 672? Enjoy your fucking timeout. You know, I've had enough of your fucking lip. I really have. He literally just in the chat, oh, it's too much work for you. Go fuck yourself. Here's what's too much work for you. Shutting your fucking lips. Because I've had enough. You've been like a sarcastic dick here, on and off. I've had enough of your shit. So sit out for 10 fucking minutes and come back and apologize publicly to me for being a dick. Thanks. Great suggestion. Rack says, or RAC says, yeah, B looks cleaner. Yeah, what I've noticed is with B, okay, it's cool because it's like, it feels like it's the game. But you also get to see what part of the game, you know, with the number and everything. I like that. It looks more natural, and I like that it changes. Because much like what I've been doing with my titles over the years, where I'll, with the words, give you a preview what's in the video. In this case, you kind of get to see a visual of a preview of what's in the video. All right? Now, Directly already based on feedback over on DSP Throwback, we added an additional thing. We added the year of the playthrough. So for example, the Final Fantasy 13 thumbnails will say 39 Final Fantasy 13 2010. And so that way people see it, say, oh, this is from 2010. They would understand this is an old playthrough from 14 years ago.
Very strange to me that he decided to say that the thumbnail looked like the game. It's just a weird choice of words because like simultaneously, no, it's a still picture. It looks nothing like the game, but at the same time, like it's a picture of the game. So yeah, it looks like the game, dumbass, sure. I don't know, maybe it's not that deep, but I do like that he's actively trying to improve his thumbnails for whatever that's worth and immediately deciding to clutter it up with more shit on the other channel. I'm not sure if he's aware how small these thumbnails really are on mobile, because the more shit that you add on top of the thumbnail, the harder it becomes to read. And I know that that's gold coming from me, being that I use tiny ass text on a bunch of my thumbnails, but my hope is always that the general idea is conveyed from afar and that the smaller minute details like that that do get lost don't actually matter all that much. And sometimes it's just fun to hide little things in there that I know most people aren't going to actually wind up seeing because it is just too small. But to tie this back to DSP, I really wish that while he was thinking about revitalizing his thumbnails or whatever, that he would actually put some sort of passion into it and actually get involved in the process so he could do fun things like putting little Easter eggs or something that he enjoys in the thumbnails. Something that actually speaks to his community and makes them feel like exactly that, a community. Some sort of inside joke or something. But that would require DSP to actually involved in his thumbnail process, which obviously he's not interested in doing. He'd much rather just hand all of the work over to some dent that has been doing it for free for a very long time now and has never asked for compensation. That's how DSP knows that he's a good dent.
Rather than looking at it and being like, oh, this is from today, right? So you kind of know that on the thumbnail. And that's the cool thing too, is that when you're doing thumbnails like this, you can add extra stuff on there if you need to. There's been a few thumbnails with me on them because it's like a notable, my reaction during the video, I'm like, oh, or whatever. You could put me on there if that's the case. However, and yes, I will say this, Fed Roger brought up something very important, okay? And I feel like this is a huge important thing. Spoilers. Because some people over the years have big issues that if you do a thumbnail like this, you're going to create spoilers, okay? Well, guess what? You're right. I mean, it's unavoidable. If you have a thumbnail that's going to show a scene from that part of the game, it's going to spoil that part of the game. You understand that, right?
No, not necessarily, but you speak with such confidence that I'm sure that your audience immediately believed that you were 100% correct. That if you took a screenshot from late game areas that you absolutely have to spoil something, but that's just not the case. But again, making sure that spoilers like that don't happen in your thumbnails requires you to be involved in the actual thumbnail making process. It's also kind of dependent on what you deem as spoilers, because I don't think that just showing a character is necessarily a spoiler. So if you get later into the game and you just take a screen grab of the boss and then put that on the thumbnail, I don't think that that's necessarily a spoiler unless that character was introduced beforehand as anything other than a boss. And that's why it would require you to actually be playing the game and understand what is and isn't relevant to being spoiled. But DSP stated with 100% certainty that it was unavoidable, so that any time that he spoils the game from here on out in his thumbnails, it's okay because he already addressed it, dude. There's nothing that he could do. He did everything correct.
So I don't know, like, is there a line that you should tiptoe on? Should we be you know, safe about it? I don't know. I like feedback about that. If we're gonna roll with B moving forward, if you like that style of thumbnail, right? What's the criteria that I should use to figure out what we show on there? Should we never show a boss? Should we, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to do, because if you want to have a truly descriptive, interesting thumbnail, you kind of have to spoil some of the video. At least that's my take, right? How else? You're not going to just show my character dark scale fill in every thumbnail with a different face. What's the point? That's boring. You might as well just go back to A then, right? You might as well just go back to showing the same thing every thumbnail.
But this is why I pointed out that it doesn't actually become a spoiler if you don't even know who these characters are beforehand. So every time you play the game, you could make a thumbnail with an entirely new character in it that you've met from the dialogue scenes. Or you could do another thumbnail of your existing characters from your party with whatever new gear you've equipped them with. You could also grab high quality pictures of the enemies that you're fighting in the game that are relevant to the gameplay in the video. If you're fighting a bunch of goblins, get some good stills of a goblin. I don't know, man, it just doesn't seem like it's that complicated to not spoil the game in the thumbnails. Really, as long as you're not showing key pivotal plot points or like character deaths or something like that, then I don't think it really matters. But it's just like DSP to make up these fictional problems that are easily avoided. And honestly, a problem that I haven't even noticed on his channel, not that I go to his real channel all of the time, I go there very seldomly, but when I do, I've never even noticed that his thumbnails might spoil something. It's such a waste of time to even address it, because like I said, as long as it's not something egregious like key plot points or character deaths, nobody actually is going to notice.
So how do you avoid the spoilers, right? I don't know. Some people are saying, yeah, because of that no to B, that's why we wouldn't want B. So that seems to be, okay, no new characters and no bosses, I'm being told. But here's the thing. No new characters and no bosses. At what point is a character not new? The second part of a playthrough that they're in, not the first? You know what I mean? Like, how would you even judge that? Okay, so they were introduced in this part. But then if you showed them in the thumbnail of the next part, well, that's the spoiler. Because you didn't show them in the thumbnail of the previous part, so you still spoiled. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, at some point, the thumbnails, if you're going to have that style of thumbnail, it's gonna show something. You know what I'm saying? $672 says, all right, just a blank white square from now on. It's perfect.
Very funny, 672. You got the whole chat laughing. Look at him. But I really don't have anything else to say when it comes to spoilers being in the thumbnails. I've already explained how easily it can be avoided if he was just involved in the process a little bit, or someone else put in a little more forethought. Of course, you can't please everybody, and somebody is gonna say that something minute is a spoiler, but I don't honestly give a shit.
You know what's funny? I never used to do thumbnails many years ago. It wasn't until, what was it, like 2016? Something like that? It wasn't until many years into me doing content, maybe the second or third year I was doing direct capture, I finally started doing my own thumbnails. I used to just let YouTube auto-generate all the thumbnails. And everyone had mixed feelings about that too. Some people were like, well, that's cool because it'll show like an action scene from the game. But some people would hate it because sometimes it would actually show like a boss fight. And people would be like, oh my God, that's like a giant spoiler of what's in that video. For me, it was always a mix. And the funny part is, here's the real funny part, okay? YouTube has a tendency to pick the worst frames of something and make it the thumbnail. So for example, I'm making like an hour-and-a-half podcast. But if at any moment during the podcast, I take my finger and I put it up my nose and I go like this is now the thumbnail for the podcast. No exaggeration. This will be the thumbnail if I let YouTube auto-generate, right? Or if like, oh, my ass itches, I go, oh, I pick my ass. That'll be the thumbnail. They always pick the worst possible unflattering auto thumbnail for a video. It never fails. It's like, I don't know, I look like a monster. I look like a deformed beast, like a Picasso painting in half the thumbnails they pick for this shit. So usually when I do the podcast, I pick, because they'll give you like 3 suggestions. I'll try to pick the best of the 3 suggestions. So just think of it this way. All right? Think of it this way. If you see a bad thumbnail of me, that was the best of the 3 that YouTube provided. Yeah. So if one day you see me like going like this, blowing armpit farts, and that's the thumbnail, that was the best of the 3 that YouTube picked. The other one is probably like me vomiting or something, you know? Jeez, thanks a lot, YouTube.
And I love that he's just taking somebody else's credit here, because he says that in 2016 is when he started doing his own thumbnails, implying that he's actually doing the thumbnails. I don't know if the person that does his thumbnails now was also doing his thumbnails in 2016. I don't know the lore that well. Sorry, I need to brush up. But by not mentioning that he no longer does them, or even giving a shout out to the person who does do them, he's leading people to believe that he still does his own thumbnails if they're not in the know, which I think is, again, just rude and disrespectful to your audience. I thought you were Mr. Honesty. I thought you were the realest dude on the internet or whatever. And you're sitting here leading people on to think that you do your own thumbnails. This is not to shame anybody who doesn't make their own thumbnails. It's not like that. But I do think that it shows that extra little bit of passion when you're involved, at least in the thumbnail making process. And of course, it took DSP till 2016 to actually start picking his own thumbnail instead of letting YouTube just auto-generate one. I've seen the auto-generated YouTube thumbnails from back back then and then now in my own videos. They're laughable at best, they're just terrible. The fact that he would even let that slide on his channel is kind of embarrassing, and shows how little work he was actually willing to put into the content that he was making, and continues to make when it comes to the level 1 pre-stream, because he just confirmed that he still lets YouTube auto-generate his thumbnails when it comes to the pre-stream. Again, I just don't know how he lets that shit slide, they're abysmal. I mean, really, how difficult is it to just grab a screenshot that you look half decent in? I know that the answer is not really difficult at all, being that I grab screen grabs from his videos all of the time while I do mine, but I did specify that he has to look half decent, which I guess is the real difficulty when it comes to taking screenshots of DSP, because it seems like he goes out of his way every single day to look as unpresentable as possible.
Anyway, so there we have it. Those are the thumbnails. Right now, the majority of people seem to say B, but be careful about spoilers. Fair enough. That's the feedback I needed. Now,
it's time for a double feature. Thank you, DSP, for the segue. Because if you thought we were just talking about thumbnails today, you're dead wrong. We're also going to be talking about the titles of the videos. Super important. Another big ups to Doody Stream for the second clip in this one. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
here's the feedback I'm now getting, okay? This is the feedback I've gotten recently. I'm doing it wrong. Okay? Again, I've done it wrong. So I'm not doing what everyone else is doing. All right? So I'm not even kidding you. I've been a YouTuber for so long. I've now been around the block for so long making content. I've seen it come full circle. At first it was, I was just using the game and a number. And then people said, that's not good enough. You have to put descriptives. So now I've been using descriptives for many years. And now people are telling me, no, that's not good enough. You're doing it wrong. You're putting too much information. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, I'm now outright getting complaints that I'm doing it wrong. That most YouTubers, here's what they'll say. Part 1, getting started, Baldur's Gate 3. That's it. That's their title. Part 2, Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. Part 3, Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. That's it. Or, if you want a clickbaity title, you put the clickbait first. So, for example, catfight breaks out at camp. Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough part 12. That's how you title your video. So you don't actually put any useful information first. You put a clickbaity title first, and then you put the other information.
Leave it to DSP to think that including some sort of eye-catching beginning to your title is clickbait. Yes, DSP, including an interesting descriptive right at the beginning of a title is going to draw more people in. It's not necessarily clickbait because it's not something that's untrue. It's just a good descriptor that gets people interested. And I have no idea where he's getting the idea that people are just calling their playthrough titles, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. Because I looked on YouTube and I genuinely only found one person who's doing it like that. Everybody else seems to be doing the other thing where they include a little descriptor at the beginning. They say that it's Baldur's Gate 3 and then they typically tell you what race and class that they are playing and maybe even what difficulty as well. So again, I really just don't know where he's getting this idea from, but I'm not surprised when it comes to DSP that he has no idea what he's talking about.
So for example, going along with the same videos, right, that I just was talking about, let's say part 40, it would, instead of being Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough part 40, talking with the Spore people, wow, secrets revealed, it would be, wow, secrets revealed of the Spore people, Baldur's Gate playthrough part 40.
Yeah, I'm really just failing to see how that's any worse than what you're already doing, DSP. You're just including the more interesting part of the title at the front, you know, so that more people will probably wind up watching the video, which I imagine is the sole reason why you actually put the videos on YouTube in the first place, is so that people will watch them and make you money. But hey, you've run a successful business for 15 years now. Who am I to tell you, you know? Just do whatever you want. I'm sure it'll work out great.
That's what people are saying I should do. Or just completely eliminate the descriptive at all. Just Baldur's Gate playthrough part 40. That's it. Or part 40, Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. Like, that's what people are actually saying I should do. And by the way, that's not just my viewers and fans. I've gotten that feedback from others as well. I have. I've actually legit gotten that feedback from others who are like, this is what all top YouTubers do. You're the only person who's not doing it. And I'm like, again, you know me, I kind of live on an island alone from everybody else. I really do. I ignore everyone else around me, and I just do my own thing. I've always been like that. So when you guys tell me that things are changing and this feedback, I take the feedback and I try to listen constructively. If you guys want me to change my titling style, I will. I absolutely will change it. But I need that feedback from you, and it seems like a lot of people are saying that now.
And this is one of the issues that I take with DSP and the way that he operates his channel. Don't get me wrong, he can operate his channel any way that he wants to, it is his channel after all. But it really bothers me that he doesn't actually think about changing things on his channel or trying new things out or just, sprucing the place up a little bit by himself. He has to get some sort of feedback from his audience telling him that that's what they want. And even when he's asking his audience for that feedback, saying that he's going to take it into consideration and he'll think about it, it doesn't sound like he actually gives a shit about it. It sounds like he only cares because people are asking him to do it, and he doesn't care one way or another about his content. He'll just do whatever people want because that's what makes him watch, I guess.
That's right. Fed Rogers says, this fight ruined my day. Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough part 10. Right. Right. Exactly right. You would always try to think, what's the biggest eye-grabbing, clickbaity title you can use for any video. Right? DSP's Salty Tears, Street Fighter 6 Friday Night Fights, and then the date. Right? That's what it would say.
And I'll be upfront and honest with you, DSP, I really don't think that that's a bad title at all. In fact, I think it's actually pretty decent because it at least shows that you can joke about yourself and have fun making fun of yourself like that. It would also draw in more people. Not to mention that it would be an accurate descriptor for every single Street Fighter stream, so you could really just use it whenever you wanted. It's kind of like the perfect title now that I'm thinking about it. But of course, your ego couldn't handle titling a video like that.
I get that. I totally get that. But I've been around for 15 years, and do you think that if I change my titles like that, that's going to improve or change anything? Do you think that's going to grab me a new audience on YouTube? I'm personally skeptical. I'm not shooting down the idea, all right? But I'm just telling you, I'm definitely very skeptical about it because I feel like I have a dedicated fan base who's going to watch my stuff no matter what. Yes, every once in a while, a few new people will find my content, but they're not going to watch it based on clickbait. They're going to watch it based on, I heard about DSP from other sources, and I'm here to finally figure out if he's true, what everyone says about him or not. Let's watch a stream or a gameplay video. It's not going to be, I'm here because I saw the title said Sonic has a bunion on his foot and runs really slow. Sonic Superstars playthrough part 27, right?
So just because DSP's been on YouTube for 15 years now means that he can't change his title structure? Make that make sense. It doesn't matter how long you've been on the platform, DSP, you can change your title structure whenever you want. In fact, you could go back through all of your videos and change all of your video titles to the new format if you really wanted to. I don't know why you would bother, it would be a huge waste of time and nobody would care, but you could go apeshit and do it if you really wanted to. He's also clearly given up on the idea of ever getting a new audience for some reason. He doesn't think that restructuring his titles will make people click on his videos anymore, but that's kind of exactly what titles can do for your videos, DSP. If you title them well, if they come up in the algorithm for whatever reason, somebody might actually click on them and they're supposed to find content that they might enjoy. I don't necessarily think that'll happen with your channel specifically because you kind of suck and so does your content, but there's really no harm in trying, especially if you do actually get a couple of new viewers because of the title that you made. We always talk about how you're going for maximum gains for minimum effort, and that's kind of one of those things if you ask me. If simply coming up with a better title or at least a better title structure for your videos attracts 1 or 2 more people, that's 1 or 2 more people than you had before. Those are potential whales, DSP. I can't believe you're not jumping on this opportunity. I can't believe you didn't do this before, in all honesty. But because you view actually trying to draw in an audience as clickbait, regardless of whether it's actually clickbait or not, you are missing out on an opportunity that could benefit your channel. I guess that's kind of the story of your whole entire YouTube career though, isn't it? You've always been so stuck in your ways that you're actually missing opportunities that would benefit your channel and therefore your business. Think direct capture, think live streaming, think interacting with your chat during a live stream. These are all things that it took DSP ages to actually integrate into what he does now.
So I don't know. You guys tell me. I want your feedback on this. Would you prefer to see me continue with my titles as is, which would be the game, playthrough, the part number, and then a little bit of a descriptive? Or would you prefer to see some kind of a just part 2, Baldur's Gate 3, with no descriptive at all, but I would flip it, so now you know what part first and then the name of the game? Or would you prefer if I actually get some kind of a clickbaity thing first, and then the name of the video? You guys tell me, all right? Seriously, I want your feedback on this. And if this is something that you want me to implement, we can implement it with new playthroughs. I probably wouldn't do it with the current playthroughs I'm doing, but maybe we could try it with a new playthrough. We could try it with, say, Like a Dragon, or we could try it with the story mode of Tekken 8 and see if that actually pans out to be something that works, or, you know what I'm saying? Just, it's funny because Orange says, it doesn't have to be clickbait, just catchy title. I mean, I hear you, but you understand that catchy titles are clickbait. That's the point. I'm not saying the title has to be a lie or an over-exaggeration, but the point is it's something catchy or, you know, oh, I want to watch this video because the title is saying something interesting, you know.
See, and I almost fell for the lie myself, so I went out of my way to define what clickbait was online. Because I thought, yeah, maybe on a technicality he's right. It's clickbait because it is trying to draw people in, and that's what clickbait means, but that's not what people mean when they say it colloquially, you know? Which I guess still can be true, but in the definition of the word, which is now on screen, it does very specifically say, especially when the link leads to content of dubious value or interest. So the word very clearly has some negative connotations associated with it, so much so that it's in the definition of the word. So whatever Dent was in chat that was clarifying that it doesn't have to be clickbait, dog, I agree with you. DSP is very clearly using clickbait incorrectly, or at least using it incorrectly the way that most people use the word.
So there you go. Matt says, I wish I could tell you, I feel like it's only 50-50 success rate for the YouTubers that I've been watching. There you go. Orkworm says if you try it and you can always go back. I mean, you're right. Snowblind says try all of the above. Upload the same video 3 identical times with 3 different titles. See which ones people watch. Now that would be that's ultimate bait. Imagine if you uploaded the same video 3 times but you named it completely differently to see which. So it could be like the first video is Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough part 40 Dark Scale Fill versus the Tower of Magic, and then the second one is just part 40, Baldur's Gate 3. And then the third one is, oh no, curse my dangling blue Dragon Balls, Baldur's Gate 3, part 40. And then see which one people click on.
He's doing that awful laugh like it's so absurd, which it is, but I really don't put shenanigans like that past him because he is known for double dipping and even trying to triple dip when it comes to content. Also, notice he couldn't come up with mock titles for his Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough without mentioning some sort of testicles or balls, or honestly, I'm surprised he didn't say something about scat. Those are old reliable jokes for DSP. They get laughs every time, dude. His audience loves it.
The tower cursed my dangling blue Dragon Balls, Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. Yes, that would be perfect, right? Like, which one would you click on? Oh my god, that's pretty funny. But I wonder, right? I don't know. Dragon Balls get the views. Oh my god. See, the thing, here's the thing. This is me being very transparent right now. At the end of a stream, okay, when I'm done streaming for hours, you know, this stream turned on at what, 11 a.m., a little earlier than that, and I started work 11:15. I'll be on the stream till 4 p.m. The stream goes off. Now I got to upload all these videos because I want to go down and eat dinner with my wife for a break before I come back to my late stream. Do I really want to go through every video I just made and think of some kind of a clever clickbaity title for each part of the gameplay that I just recorded, right? It's difficult enough skimming through and just finding what happened in there. But now I got to sit here and be creative about each. Man, so I went to the Arcane Tower and the turrets were a pain. Turret pain is insane in my membrane. Arcane Tower turmoil. Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. You know what I mean? Like, I have to sit there and try to figure it out for every part. You know, there's a difference between if something actually notable really happened in each part and it sticks out. That's easy titling. But there's going to be times when, like, there's nothing going on or it's a more boring part. Do I just make shit up?
No, you don't just make shit up. You just use a less interesting title. If nothing happened, bro, nothing happened. It's okay. You just have to be as interesting as possible with the nothing that happened. But he's sitting here complaining that he has to be creative about his video titles. Are you serious right now? I know that I'm not one to talk because my video titles are very straightforward. They just tell you what's gonna happen in the video. But it's very off-putting to me that he's sitting here complaining about having to be creative with the titles that he's putting on his own content so that it appeals to more people potentially. I don't know, it just sounds entitled, it sounds lazy. Both are just generally accurate descriptors for DSP though, so I shouldn't be surprised.
Right, do I just literally just make a title up? Like, what if a part was just, like, I hit level 6, and now I spent half the part leveling, and the other half is walking to a new area, right? So what the hell do I title that part? If I was titling it right now, it would be Baldur's Gate playthrough, part 41, we hit level 6, let's do the leveling, or something like, you know, something very basic. So what should I put there? You know?
Real talk for a second, I don't know how you spend half of your video leveling up. That's kind of insane to me as someone who's played Baldur's Gate 3. It does not take that long to level up. You're out of your mind. I guess it can take that long when you have to take in every person's opinion into consideration for every single decision. But you could absolutely incorporate your level up into the title if that's really all you did in that part. Talk about the new spell you picked. Talk about how much more health you have now. Did your other characters level up? Did they get something that was more interesting? Did they get a new spell, a new cantrip? I don't know why you're making this so complicated. Why is this so alien to you? You just pick the most interesting part of your video and make it more interesting. You ask a question. You talk about a specific thing that people might actually be interested in.
Holy leveling, Batman! Amazing new powers unlocked at level 6. Check it out, right? Like,
yeah, no, not like that at all. That was actually terrible and cringe.
oh my god. To me, that is so stupid. I mean, this is me, again, being honest with you. I'm not saying I won't do it or try it. I just think that is so fake and stupid. And the fact that people tell me, oh, that's what every YouTuber does now. It's like, so you're telling me every fucking YouTuber is a fake and all they want is your view and money. They're not caring about actually accurately describing what happened in the video. They don't care about people, you know, liking the content. Just as long as you clicked on it, that was good enough for them, right? Like, that's bullshit to me. To me, that's always been bullshit. Like, you know, stretching the truth or whatever. Like, the one video that I ever extrapolated like that was the worst game I've ever played, Homefront the Revolution review. And that review got over 1 million views back in the day on KO Gaming. Because I extrapolated and over-exaggerated.
Jesus Christ, can we not talk about that one review for the upteenth time, please? I'm just so sick of hearing about it, bro. Leave it in the past. It's done. It's over. You don't even make that style of content anymore, and KO Gaming doesn't even exist. And again, it doesn't seem like these people are intentionally being deceptive with the name that they're titling their part with. Just because their language skills are more robust than yours, DSP, doesn't mean that you should be shitting on them for it. It's not their fault that they know how to entice people into a video. Again, as long as they're not being deceptive, as long as they're not lying. If they just know how to appeal to people in a way that does accurately describe their video, good for them. I'm happy for them. That is actually a skill and they're putting it to use.
Is that really what everyone on YouTube wants? Is everyone just so, like, gullible and susceptible to this kind of tactic that you just do this for every single video you ever put out? You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, I understand maybe I would get a little bit of a view boost, but the view boost is going to be from people who are kind of dumb. You know what I mean? So it's like, do I care? Do I really care about getting a few dumb people on my content? I don't know. I don't know if I do.
I don't think I've ever seen another content creator who is so specific on what sort of audience that they're interested in actually cultivating. I feel like most content creators are just happy people are showing up and they're appreciative that somebody is actually watching their content and allowing them to do what they want to do. But when it comes to DSP, he's very particular. You have to have the same interest. You have to talk about very specific things in his chat. You can't be what he deems as dumb. And one of the many things that he thinks makes you dumb is if you click on a title that has an interesting beginning. I said it before, I'll say it again, just make that make sense, please. It just seems so strange to me that DSP is so selective about who is and isn't watching his content. I mean, isn't the saying beggars can't be choosers? And DSP is definitely a beggar if nothing else.
I don't know. Again, if you haven't noticed this year, you would have noticed, I say this year, but it was last year now, right? In 2023, DSP Gaming saw a decline in views. It did. But the weirdest part about that is that my support stayed the same. How is it that I could have a decline in my viewership, but my support is the same? Because the people who were watching and left weren't positive people who were supporting the content or liked it. They were hate watchers. They were people who were here just to shit on me, and they left, and they went to watch the toxic restreams instead. Good.
I love how he instantly jumps from they weren't supporting to they were a negative element to begin with and they went to go watch the toxic restreamers instead because they were just hate watching the whole time. It totally couldn't have been that they were a genuine fan and enjoyed the content, but when they stopped enjoying the content for whatever reason, there's numerous, they just stopped watching altogether and the viewer numbers just went down. Of course, that's not an option because if you stop watching DSP for any reason, you're just a negative detractor troll, dude. Especially if you weren't supporting because that's all that matters at the end of the day. DSP sitting here asking, how is it possible my viewer numbers went down but my support stayed the same? It's because you're entirely funded by like 6 people total, dude. It's really that simple. You could absolutely lose the other 300 people who are watching your streams, and as long as those same 6 people continue to support the way they have been, you'd be absolutely fine. And I don't think that you mind that at all.
Leave. I don't need you here because you don't help. You really don't. those views don't help me in any way, shape, or form. They probably had an ad blocker on regardless, or you know what I mean? Like they weren't, how does my actual earnings stay the same if I have less customers because they weren't customers? Do you get it? So the way I see it is like that element, that clickbait element of titling with clickbait or whatever. Yes, that will bring you attention, but this is not attention that's positive. It's fleeting. It gets someone to be tricked into watching a video. Out of all the people who were tricked, what, you get 2 people in a week that maybe might stick around and watch another video? Well, everyone else just watched the clickbait, said, it was clickbait, and then they leave. Or, on the flip side, they just shit on you. This was a clickbait video. Fuck you. Blah, 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 blah. Negative, negative, right?
But this is DSP thinking only short term again, because 2 viewers this week that stick around might be 4 viewers next week and 6 viewers after that. And eventually, DSP, you could have 100 new viewers that stick around and watch your stuff genuinely. But like I said, it's not actually about who's watching the content and that people are actually getting enjoyment out of said content. It's all about the money. It's always been about the money. If you are not willing to put your money where your mouth is, as he loves to say, then he doesn't care if you're around. Anyone who hasn't tipped Phil in the last week might as well screw off, get banned, and not come back.
So that's the thing. Like for me, I really don't know if it's important, but I want your feedback. Okay, I do. Leave me your feedback on the thumbnails, and please leave me your feedback on the titling. I'm not going to immediately make the change, but I want feedback because I want to improve. Again, this is a discussion I would never have had years ago. Really, I never would have went into detail about this. This would have been just, I'll just do whatever I want. But today, I want to change for the better, and I want to make content you like, and I want to be sure that I'm in line with my viewership. So what should I do? Should I stay the same? Should I change? Should I adapt somewhat? How do I adapt, right? If the feedback I'm getting, like I'll tell you, I'll be honest right now, an outsider to my content outright told me flat, straight to my face, you need to change your titling because you can't figure out what each video is about. And I was like, what do you mean? And they said, well, for example, if I just open my phone and I go to DSP Gaming, any video of a playthrough looks exactly identical because of your titles. Every single part will say the name of the game and the number, and that's it. That's all you see. Even though you have the descriptive titles, they come at the end, and you never get to that unless you click on the video. So you never get to see the descriptive title of what's in each video. And I thought about it. I was like, you know, they're right, because the only way you would see that, maybe if you click on the playlist and you skim around, but because the way YouTube works, you don't get to like see everything at a glance. They abridge, they like cut off the title, so you never get to see it. And I was like an epiphany. I was like, what the fuck? They're absolutely right. How dumb is that? Because YouTube changed everything for mobile. Remember, everything I'm doing is based on desktop viewers. That's what was my bread and butter back in the day. Before everything went mobile, that's what I was relying on. But now more people watch on mobile than on desktop. So this person's absolutely right with their feedback. Most people aren't seeing my descriptors. They're not getting to see what's in the video. They just, fuck, what part is it? And then they click it, right?
I know I let him go on for a while there, but I wanted to make sure that we got pretty much the full breadth of what his thought process was here. And I really find it hard to believe that he's never viewed his own content mobily. Like, he's had to have seen it at least a couple of times, right? Or does he literally never check his own videos? I see my own content mobily all of the time because when you guys send me timestamps, I absolutely click on the timestamp to figure out what you're commenting on because I care. I also like that he said out loud in front of everybody that years ago he wouldn't have taken feedback on his titles because he wasn't actually interested in changing, even for the better. I know that he thinks that's some sort of brag, that's some sort of flex, that he's now trying to improve himself. But dude, you've been doing this for 15 years, you're a 41-year-old man, and you are just now learning that you can learn something from the people who watch your videos? Like I said earlier, he can do whatever he wants with his channel, it is his channel, but the fact that he wouldn't even think about changing because he just straight up didn't care is absurd.
So maybe I do need to change. Maybe even if I don't change and I don't do clickbait, at least if I put it first, like for example, approaching the Arcane Tower, oh no, it's turrets, right? Or approaching the Arcane Tower, turret trouble, Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough part 20. But at least then you get to see the descriptor first to see what's in it. And if the feedback, or excuse me, if the thumbnail is the new style of thumbnail, by the looks of the thumbnail, you're already going to know what game it is because it's going to have the name of the game and the number. So maybe that's what I should do. Should I reverse the order of my titles? Because I could do that.
So yeah, after all of that discussion, we still haven't reached a conclusion yet, but that's where the clip is gonna end. Double big ups Doody for the clips in this one. I really appreciate both of them. Thank you so much. Of course, shout out to everybody who watched the video, especially if you made it this far. A special big ups to all of my members. You guys are awesome. I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully I'll catch all of you guys in the next video, but until then, make sure that you check out other detractor channels and dive deeper into that. Snortex.